Okay, hey, here we are. Okay. Thank you to Fabian for pointing me to the right meeting because I opened up the old meeting from earlier today. So I was I was in the wrong spot where Fabian and Aaron and Nina and a few others had met earlier today. So hey, welcome to the correct meeting. Hi, how's everybody doing? Everything good? Okay, I wanted to make this fairly short because we got the midterm coming up in week 5, right? Which is right around the corner. And I did uh, prepare a listing. As soon as I can share it here, I wanna do that. Okay, can everybody see my little list? So basically, we have several topics that are going to be covered on a midterm exam in week 5. I have prepared the exam. I went through the exam and kind of isolated out all the different topics that I thought it would be good for you to study. So let's just go through these real quickly. And if you have any questions or if you have you're uncertain about any of these topics, you can just bring that up here or ask me for any further information. I know that the text covers all of these in some detail, but perhaps you're not as happy with it as you might like to be. And if you got any questions on any of these topics, just raise your hand or let me know or just shout out. But basically, we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be testing you on a few questions on bonds and bond valuation. Now, when it comes to bond valuation, I would like to think that now that those are just simple present value problems, right? You've got a bond, you got a face value that's due at the end of the term of the bond, so that's like your future value. You if it's a coupon bond, not a zero coupon bond, but if it's pays interest or coupon payments over the course of the period, those are your payments, right, during the term. Um, you've got a required interest rate, which is going to be your discount rate. And sometimes you're given, instead of giving the coupon payments, you're given a percentage. So you'd have to potentially, calculate what the payments are going to be. But those are those are the pieces of information that you need um, to do a present value problem to determine the present value of that future face value that's going to hit at the end of the term of the bond when it matures, in addition to all the coupon payments that you get. Now, there's a few wrinkles that can be thrown in, like if the bond that you're talking about is, pays coupon payments semi-annually, then you'll know that, the coupon payments are going to be half of what they would be, when you're talking about an annual coupon payment. If you're given a required rate of return, you know that that's going to be halved, right? You got to divide that by 2 to get the appropriate discount rate, things like that. Does all that make sense? You fairly comfortable with bonds and bond valuation anyway? Everything good? Okay, good. Let's move on. The next topic that I saw, I did all these in alphabetical order, um, is efficient markets. That's the primary topic of the chapter's text this week. And I'm going to go through the PowerPoint with you a little bit on efficient markets. But does everybody understand what efficient markets mean? Basically, all the information that's available to investors and the general public is all freely available. I was talking about that a little bit in our last session. I'm not 100% convinced that the efficient market theory applies in all cases. I know I can be lazy. Some people are lazy. They might not do their research. They might not keep up to speed on what's happening with their investments or with the markets in total. But for the most part, markets are efficient. Did you folks have a chance to look at that video that I wanted to show last time? Everybody look at that? Did you guys think it was any good? Good, bad, boring, no help, some help? Any comments?
I think that we have touched upon efficient market theory in other classes before, and to me, it's literally just a theory with no practical value at all. Like, as of now, given our current situation, it's just a theory. So,
I would tend to agree with that. I mean, like I said, I think there's a lot of holes in it as far as any practical applications, but especially with the internet and the way information freely flows these days, there's no reason why a lot of this information cannot be used and made available to people. What always will tend to throw efficient markets out the window is, when people use insider information to gain advantage, and things like that. I was telling you about my little Wall Street story where Michael Douglas is bothering Charlie Sheen for insider information. He gets some and he makes some big move on some airline. It's just what can happen if there's insider information that is made available to it, a few potential investors, and if they happen to be heavy investors, they can really make a killing in the market. But anyway, efficient markets will be questioned on the midterm. It'll be more not any of the mathematical specifics of the chapter, more the general theory, the ideas behind the theory, the ideas behind the fact that efficient markets, puts forward the idea that all information is potentially available out there for any investor and that sort of thing. I'm going to have a few questions on financial markets and their history. So, things like, what was Black Monday, and what have some of the markets done relative to inflation? Like, what have the bond market rates been relative to inflation? Things of that sort. It's just good to be familiar with the general ideas on how to relate, the history of financial markets to current investment instruments, and know what the history has been. I'll skip ahead because I see it right there. Insider information. We just touched on that. Just to understand what insider information is and what it can do. Going back one. Future value calculations, and I could skip down to present value calculations. Those are particularly present value calculations, as I mentioned earlier, are very important to bond calculations and valuation. So it's good to understand, the time value of money concepts, not only for lump sum payments for determining the future value, or the present value rather, of a bond face value that's going to occur at some point in the future, but also the payments that occur over the term of the bond, to understand how to find the present value of annuities or ongoing coupon payments over the course of a bond's term, and how to then add those together to come up with a total valuation of the bond. Investor information is just what it is. General information that's available to investors, what sort of information is out there, how insider information can skew that, and what are good sources of information for investors. Not necessarily including insider information, what sort of good informational sources are out there for investors. understand the concept of mutual funds, what they are. Are they risky? Are they relatively safe? You know, are they good initial investments for beginning investors? That sort of thing. Um, Related then to present value and future value are perpetuities, how to understand the calculations behind calculating the value of a perpetuity, which is essentially the perpetual amount that you're going to be receiving, right? Divided by the rate that's going to apply, the required rate of return. But, understanding that, um, understanding what random walk theory is. Um, you can just read about that a little bit, but it's just basically is the idea that you can't really predict, not at least consistently, what certain markets are going to do, what certain stocks are going to do. There's always a random element to all these investments. So that's going to be something that's fairly important. The ideas of technical analysis, where you actually get into analyzing, detailed trends of stocks, of bond performance, that versus the idea of fundamental analysis, which is looking at a company's financial statements and determining, if you think it's a good investment to make based on what the company itself is doing, not necessarily what, the detailed trends of patterns of stock movements and prices and so forth. I happen to be a big fundamental um, proponent. And the primary reason for that, I suppose, is the fact that I'm a financial guy, right? So I put faith in my ability to evaluate a company through its financial statements, rather than a guy like my brother who spends hours and hours analyzing the market, trying to, get some good information on what to invest in. I'm a buy and hold guy, a long-term guy, a fundamental guy. The term structure of interest rates, just understanding how interest rates and, closely associated with that is the yield curve and the yield to maturity, all these things that, are generally state that longer terms are going to carry higher returns in instruments and investments than shorter terms. That's just would make common sense to people in the fact that, well, if you're gonna tie your investments up for a long period of time, then you better be getting a better return than if you are just engaged in a short-term investment and you can pull your money out after a year or two as opposed to 5, 7, 10 years of term. But basically, those are the primary topics that are going to be on the midterm. There might be just a couple others, but if you're familiar with all these ideas, um, I've got several bond valuation problems. I'll tip my hand on that. So make sure you can calculate the value of a bond. When you're given the necessary information to do so. And then a lot of the rest of these are more conceptual as opposed to mathematical. When it comes to any mathematics, I suggest you just jot down your steps and how you solve something. Don't just say, oh, the bond value is, $1,050, Professor Higgins. Well, if it's 1,025, you're going to be SOL because I'm going to say no. You don't get any points on it. But if you show me how you did it, then I can say, oh, you made an error in the number of periods, or oh, he made an error on the rate, or oh, it was a semi-annual coupon payment instead of an annual one, and give you partial credit. So I'm a big proponent on giving partial credit. When a student does some good, solid work, then I want to give them some credit for that. Obviously, if they're on the right track, if they're not on the right track, they won't get much credit at all. That all stands to reason. But as we look at these topics, does anybody have any questions on any of these that maybe I can help you with? Everything seem reasonable? How are you doing, Justin? I don't see you in the other class, so I'm picking on you as just a guy I'd like to hear from. How's everything
Well,
with you?
it's chaos and busy. I have I got here late because of traffic, but I was coming from work, and so it's just kind of like I was able to get a couple extra hours in at work, so that was nice, but
Okay.
it's pretty chaotic.
How you finding the course so far? I saw you did real well on the last quiz. You didn't do as great on the earlier quiz, so I just want to make sure that you're comfortable. Everything good?
Yeah, the first two quizzes I actually had to do them on my work laptop because I did them at the school,
Uh-huh.
and my laptop has been kind of acting up, and so I wasn't able to get that one working. And so then this one, I was able to take this quiz at home and on my desktop, and so it was a lot more conducive to taking exams and tests and stuff.
Okay.
So
Um, the good thing about the midterm coming up and the assignments now that I'm starting to create and post, for week 6 through 10, those are all going to be non-timed. You're not going to be limited to whatever it is, 180 minutes or 120 minutes or whatever the first 4 quizzes were. You're going to have the entire week. I just think that's a better way to really set these things up instead of having some time pressure. So you shouldn't have to worry about that too much. And the good thing is I mean, as we continue on and you got a full week to do these assignments and the midterm and the final, we'll be having our meetings. So if you have any questions on those, I mean, I obviously can't give answers away on assignments or on exams, but I can be there for you to kind of, if you want to use me as a sounding board, you're like, hey, Prof. Higgins, does this make sense? I'm thinking about this or whatever it is. I'm happy to help out because that's basically what I'm here for. So, the good thing, I guess, to put things more succinctly, the good thing is that the timed quizzes are now or soon will be over with. Okay. There are only 4. The bad thing is that I did get the text now finally. It's an online version, but I don't have any of these nice little PowerPoints. So what I want to do then going forward is just, prepare Word documents to kind of just highlight the major points, kind of like what I've done here for the midterm. And then just, throw those topics open to discussion, and questions from you guys that I can just, we can just talk to and discuss and, beat up and down the,
I
you know,
did real quick on as far as you said the time limits are going to go away. Does that mean that we can go in and answer 5 questions and come back at a later time, or is it still is it going to be you have to complete it in one session?
Yeah, good question. I hadn't really thought about that.
Because if I can break it up, it's going to be like it's right now. I have to do all my if I do work on this stuff, if it's not in class time, then I have to basically wait until Sunday evening to get my stuff done, and that's
Right,
cramming all of that in, and it gets a little stressful. So if
sure.
I can break it up and do like, work on it for 20 minutes, tonight, and then another 20 later, and so on and so forth, like it's it makes it a lot easier for my scheduling. But
Yeah, I think the way I've set it up would be conducive to that if you want.
okay. Mhm.
I have like a limitation on documents that you can submit as the assignment at like 20. I think that's the default. So you can, I mean, if you want to split up 50 questions on the midterm into like, 5 sessions, 5 documents of 10 answers each, that works. I just be sure
So
you
is
submit
it
everything.
not like in Moodle the same way that the Moodle is doing them now, or is it and so like you get a print a document and then work through the questions that way and then submit the document, or is it like so that's what it is?
I posted a document, so you'll
Okay.
have all 50 questions on one document. You can download it or just refer to it, whatever. I would suggest you download it and then put your answers right
Okay.
on that and send it
Yeah, I
back.
was kind of thinking it was a Moodle one, like the way the quizzes and everything were, where you do the quiz via the Moodle. So
Yeah, no, it's not set up in a standard exam or test format. It's set up as in an assignment format, like
okay, that's
homework.
awesome. Yeah.
So you'll be able to refer to that document throughout the entire week. I'll open it up, real late on Sunday night, and then it will automatically be due or close off on the following Sunday night, the weekend Sunday night at midnight, your guys' time or Pacific time. I'm
Okay.
Central, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, so good question. But you should have, the capability of breaking it up if you want. Just make sure you're complete. You make sure you answer all the questions, and as long as you submit them in document form to the Dropbox, I'll see them. Okay. Any other types of questions that you guys might have? Is there anything on the exam, the quizzes that we've had so far that, I've tried to make those little image cut and paste documents in Paintbrush and send those out to you guys so you can see the actual pages of what you missed. I don't want to send everything to you. I'm just doing it on an exception basis because there's obviously, what are there, like 10 or 20 questions on each quiz, I think. Yeah, there's 20 questions on each quiz. That's quite a few. So I just do the exceptions, and most of you have been doing great. It's rare when I see someone miss 4 or 5 questions now. You guys are really tightening it up and doing great. So, but yeah, is that workable for you? Do you guys like that idea? I'm sending you the exceptions. That work for you, Tyler? Is that good?
Yeah, that works.
Good, cool. Okay. Let me just see what I can do here. Do a new share. And I'm just gonna flip over to this just for the heck of it. And everybody see this element? You can see now that I got the text. Hey, can you see the efficient market hypothesis up there? Okay, so basically I do have a text now, and I just thought on page 2, efficient market hypothesis, that section within part 2 of the text. Right off the bat, they get into these formulas of how to determine the rate of return from holding a security. As interesting as all that might be, you don't worry about it. I'm not going to be asking you any questions on that kind of thing. The whole idea of what I'll be asking you on efficient markets is what we talked about. It's this intro information. Expectations affect security prices. You need to look at how information in the market affects those prices. Efficient market hypothesis states prices of securities fully reflect all available information. As Fabian points out, it's just a theory, but it's a reasonable theory. So it's good for people to understand that. Let's just see if I can page down here a little bit and get to any other important points that they're going into more mathematics. But the rationale behind the hypothesis, why it makes sense. They say that, using the concept of arbitrage, okay, and that's an important term to know. I might be asking you something about that on the midterm, but yeah, which market participants eliminate unexploited profit opportunities by taking advantage of those until they close. Okay, so arbitrage is, 2 types. You got pure arbitrage, and you got what's the other type? I don't see it there. I can't remember off the top of my head. Pure arbitrage. Let me get down into the other. Oh, well, you can read about it. Don't worry. I don't get into any specifics on asking you what pure arbitrage is, or anything of that sort. But evidence on the efficient market hypothesis, that's good for you to know too. Early evidence on the efficient market hypothesis was quite favorable. And then they're talking about deeper dives into it, in more recent years, suggests that the hypothesis, isn't always correct. So I think it's good to just kind of read through that and become familiar at least with, the evidence for and some of the evidence against efficient markets. Let's just see. Just below that, we get into the random walk idea, which I talked about. Random walk behavior describes a movement of a variable whose future changes cannot necessarily be predicted. It's just important for you to understand what these concepts are. So down the road, if you're with a group of co-workers, or if you're with a group of investors and someone starts talking about random walk, you know what they're talking about. It's not necessary that you follow random walk or you're a true believer in it. Just to understand what it really means and what it is. Same with technical analysis and also fundamental analysis, which I just chatted about a little bit earlier. The January effect is something that's kind of neat to know. Over long periods of time, stocks have tended to experience an abnormal price rise around the holidays. And this is referred to as a January effect. Understand what that is and what it means. Be sure to read through this little section here. Your text. Everybody got the text, by the way? Does everybody have it? Good. Okay. Because if you don't, I can always cut and paste or get information to you certain areas that you might need. Also, if there's any of these topics or the topics I listed on the midterm that you'd like more information on, I got a ton of information. I got the other financial markets and institutions text I showed you way back when by Jeff Madura, my old college buddy from Northern Illinois. He wrote it, but I do have that text. And I can always do research and find additional information should you need anything or want anything further, or if you'd like a different point of view on some of this. But I'm just kind of paging through this here to see if there's anything else. Should you be skeptical of hot tips? Boy, I would be, right? I don't trust anything. You get a hot stock tip, yeah, well, I end up ignoring more of those than I pursue, that's for sure. Stock prices always rise when there's good news. They will eventually, but due to random walk, stock prices are unpredictable, and you don't always know. And also, good news on a stock, good news is relative. I mean, some people might be pleased when they hear that a stock is, a company is going to be, making more money and has had a decent quarter and anticipates the next few quarters to be profitable and good. But if those estimations or those forecasts or those, general ideas don't hit expectations, the general expectations of analysts or of the market in general, then the stock price might fall. If expectations aren't there. So stock prices, they always rise when there's good news? No. What else we got here that might be good to know? Yeah, I mean, we already kind of talked about this a little bit, why the efficient market hypothesis does not necessarily imply that financial markets are efficient. Good to know. but I'm not going to be asking a whole lot of detail on that. But basically, if you guys, do your assignments, do the quizzes, you read through the text, and if you particularly pay attention to the listing of topics that I've laid out, because there will be a few questions on each of those topics on the midterm. You read through those and you're familiar with them and comfortable with them. You should be doing pretty well on the midterm. Okay. And once again, the good thing is that you got all week, all of week 5 to prepare your midterm. So I'm confident that you're all going to have stellar results, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm going to throw it open. Any questions? Anything? I might turn you guys loose here shortly. Everything good? I see everybody smiling and everything seems to be a-okay. So if we're good, I think I'm going to let you go. I didn't really have a lot here. I definitely wanted to talk about the midterm topics because I want to call your attention to those. So when you're preparing for the midterm or while you're taking the midterm, you can refer to it and say, oh yeah, Professor Higgins put a question on that topic as number 7. I better read up on it before I answer it. But like I said, it's a majority true false. You got some true false questions, and you got some multiple choice questions. The assignments, which are going to begin the following week in week 6, are going to be some true false, some multiple choice, but also some short answers. Excuse me. Yeah, so they'll be structured a little bit differently, but I think I'll keep the same sort of a format for the final exam as I have for the midterm, which will be just the true false questions and the multiple choices. There will again be 50 questions on that as well, which is more than enough, I think. But with so many questions, I don't want you guys writing and spending all your time writing and answering short answer questions. I'd rather that you just get through the material of is this true or is it false, or have multiple choice of A through E options on half of the problems on the exam. Okay, so that's my plan. Any questions, or if anything pops up, please don't hesitate to post in the Q&A or shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to answer you right away. And I'm going to turn you loose. So good luck on all this coming up, and we'll meet again. We'll meet again Monday, and then we'll see if we want to meet on Friday. Based on you're starting to crack the books on the midterm and how you feel about that. I'll do whatever you want. If you want to meet and you want me to answer a few questions, or if you have some areas you're not totally sure of, I'll be happy to meet with you again a week from today, as opposed to just Monday. Okay? Everything sound good?
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
And have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday, all right?
Thank you. You
Awesome.
too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. You,
Okay,
bye.
guys. Adios. Bye-bye. Thanks again.